grabbing those, yeah, we're coast to coast. RC drifting, feel the slide. Tandem move.
Before I start designing parts for the FRX RS, I need to drive this thing to see how it acts in the stock form and to give me a better idea on how I can improve the chassis in the future with some of the custom parts that we designed for this awesome RC drift car. Today we're taking the FRX RS out to the track to test it out for the very first time in its completely stock form and see how it does. And then when I get back, I'll give you guys some of my first impressions and reactions to driving the FRX RS on track and get some better ideas on how we can improve this really cool front motor RC drift car.
RC drifting, feel the slide. Tandem moves, we're side by side. Hit the curve, let the tires squeal. Living the drift, it's the real deal. Night lights gleam, the asphalt calls. Sliding smooth through the neon halls. Control the chaos, make it art. Every drift's a brand new start. RC drifting, feel the slide. Tandem moves, we're side by side. Hit the curve, let the tires squeal. Living the drift, it's the real deal. Lights gleam, the asphalt calls. Sliding smooth through the neon halls. Control the chaos, make it art. Every drift's a brand new start. RC drifting, feel the slide. Tandem moves, we're side by side. Hit the curve, let the tires squeal. Living the drift, it's the real deal. RC drifting, feel the...
First off, I gotta say I was very impressed with how well this car drove in stock form. And if you've watched the previous video, you saw the alignment and setup, and that this car actually had a really good alignment right out of the box. So I wanted to drive it and see how it would do, and it felt great. Now, a few of the things that I noticed upon first driving this car was probably due to some of the electronics that I put on. And I know the servo, these AGF RC A50 BHL servos, you can tune them on the computer, and I think I had a bad tune on it. So with some research online, I think I might have a better tune on the servo. But one of the things that I noticed was that the car would almost like over rotate and catch itself with the gyro, and so I'd lift off the throttle and get it straightened out or back into the drift. But that was just one thing that I think it's not car related, it was electronics related. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell on video, but there were a few times where the car would almost whip to angle and over rotate, and then I would catch it and continue drifting it. The other thing that I noticed was with these gear ratio setups, and it was probably something I mentioned in the other video, but I think I had too small of an opinion on. I was running a 24 tooth because that was the largest 48 pitch servo that I had for the time. And then while I was able to keep up with cars, I was full trigger the whole time while driving it, and it didn't give me a lot of room above full trigger in order to add a little more wheel speed and pull out of some mistakes that I would make on track. The next time I drive this car, I went ahead and I picked up a 28 tooth servo, so 4 teeth more. I think the 28 tooth pinion is going to give me a better range of power with the current gear ratio setup. And if we take a look at the chart that the FRX comes with, everything's a pretty high final drive ratio. So adding this larger pinion with the recommended rear gearbox gears is going to put my final drive ratio closer to what I'm used to when driving my RDX, and that's closer to a 10 or a 10.5 final drive. So like I said before, the steering was pretty quick, and I think due to having a motor up front here on the chassis, it puts more weight onto the steering wheels. So the second that the car begins to turn or initiate, the car's turning. There's not a lot of float, there's not a lot of push. It was really responsive on the steering, and it took my brain a minute or a few laps to get used to how fast this car was turning and initiating in the corners. But that was a feel that I got used to quickly, and it really started to feel good after a few laps. Alright guys, so I am sitting here kind of going through this edit that this will be in, and I figured I should talk about some other stuff because it came out kind of short, and I think we need to talk about some of the ways that we can improve this chassis. Right off the bat, that 28 tooth pinion came in, so I have that installed, and I think that's going to be a significant increase in wheel speed and kind of help the car pull out of some corners a little better than it was with the 24 tooth pinion. The other thing that I noticed, and it's going to maybe hard to see on camera, but the Ackerman seems to be just a little off with the spacers on this bell crank. The trailing wheel seems to be turning maybe a little faster than the leading wheel, and it is more visible when the car is loaded, so maybe I'll get an overhead shot and show that. So I think maybe dialing in the alignment just a little bit on the front end, possibly using a smaller spacer on the bell crank to bring that tow arm back just a little bit, should slow down the trailing wheel ever so slightly. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, of course, the chassis and the design. Now, I'm going to make a separate episode with all the steps that I've gone through so far to get the chassis in the holes set up, but if you'll see, I have this vinyl sheet, and basically I cut this to test out my hole spacing and my file before I start designing the chassis and how I want to do my cutouts and things like that. So on the next episode, where I talk about going further with the design of the FRX, I will show you the file I have with the cutouts and stuff I'm doing, because my initial idea here is to lighten the front end just a little lighter. See if maybe we can get to the 39 range instead of 40, maybe 38, by removing material up here in the front, keeping material in the back. It should help change that weight balance just a little bit. So something I've been doing is making vinyl templates with my file, so I can test the hole spacing and the sizing before I send these out to get prototyped, just so I know the files are nice and accurate before I spend time and money on parts to go into the prototyping process. Let me get you on a different angle and I'll show you some of the files that I've cut so far, just to give you guys an idea what I've been working on. So here is the original trace file where I went ahead, traced the stock chassis deck, started putting my initial measurements and test pieces, and then what I did was I went and overlaid the vinyl pieces to check the hole spacing with all these holes, and I did the same thing with the chassis but onto the bottom of the stock chassis plate. Now, to most, I'm sure these all look identical. With fine-tuning an RC drift chassis, there's so many minute details with moving things just a couple millimeters to make sure that the fit is direct spot on comparison. So with my final file here, it's funny that one says 5. This is actually number 4, and then 5 is on the chassis, but everything is lined up nearly perfectly. And then of course I put in some bevels here where I'm going to have it smoothed out, and then I have some other changes. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk about all the steps involved that a lot of people don't see when designing parts and pieces for an RC drift car. I hope that helped give you a little bit of insight into the testing and tuning and some of the work that's going into this FRX RC drift car. Now, I want to make sure everything is perfect before I send out for prototypes, so I'm going to spend some more time and I'll do another episode talking about the quirks and kind of like the tedious effort that's going into designing this drift chassis. So I have some more parts and some things that I haven't showed you that's going to be more involved and hopefully turn this awesome front motor car into a track slayer. So I hope you guys enjoyed checking out some of the footage of this thing on track, ripping around Scale Science for the very first time. I only got 2 or 3 batteries through it, so now that I have the new pinion installed, maybe I'll go ahead, tune the alignment a little bit, get back out to the track and test it out, and give you guys my thoughts and opinions in future episodes. Let you know if we improved the performance or kind of took a step backwards. So in the future, I plan on doing maybe some live streams and updating everyone that's following along with the build, and have them tune in and we can do a live chat, kind of a hangout, and talk about ideas for the design, parts and pieces that people might want to see in the future for this car. And then stepping into the prototype range, I'll be sure to show everyone when the parts come in, once we get prototypes ordered, and then do episodes bolting them onto the chassis, making sure the fit and finish is perfect, and then getting those parts out to you guys. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button if you like what you saw today. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts and opinions if you've been driving an FRX for a while. Be sure to subscribe, tune into the series, check out the playlist I have for the FRX if you missed some of the previous episodes. Be sure to check out the links down in the description below. Those are all affiliate links that I have linked through A-Main Hobbies. It doesn't cost you guys anything, but it helps my channel out when you need a part or a tool or some electronics for your RC drift car build. So I really appreciate you guys watching these videos, tuning into the series. All the comments have been super positive, and I'm looking forward to dialing in this FRX. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.
Grabbing those, yeah, we're coast to coast. RC drifting, feel the slide. Tandem moves, we're side by side. Hit the curve, let the tires squeal. Living the drift, it's the real deal.